You're listening to Xsgaming Podcast, a podcast for gamers by gamers, with your hosts Xander Skullion and James Gruesome, bringing you something old, something new, and a little bit of nostalgia too.
Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, whichever time you guys are checking this out, and welcome back to another episode of Xsgaming Podcast. We're recording this on the 2nd of July, so happy 4th of July for all you listeners, and this is episode 104. I'm one of your hosts, Xander Skullion, and joined with me is my good old buddy and co-host, Mr. James Gruesome. What's up, James?
Greetings, everyone. I'm back after missing a show there, but I know Burhan was here, and I'm sure he filled in for me quite nicely. I'm just happy I woke up in time to get some McDonald's breakfast, because anybody that's friends with me on Facebook knows I have a couple issues with getting this mythical all-day breakfast. So I actually got full-on breakfast, and I'm still enjoying my lovely Coca-Cola to help soothe my stomach, because I drank a little bit too much last night. Had a real good time watching New Japan Pro Wrestling show and just having some shots, and then, before you know, it's like half the bottle's gone. It's like, oh God, I feel rough, man. But no super like awful hangover, because I'm not gonna drink that much to where, I might feel a little gross. Like, that's okay, but full on hangovers, no. I try to be a responsible drinker and not get those anymore. The last time I had one, I said never again, and I have held true to that for about 3 years now, I think. So, doing good.
I'll say, I don't think it's anything worth apologizing, taking shots and watching New Japan Wrestling. I mean, that sounds like a pretty good night.
Oh, man.
But I got a couple of things I was going to open up the show with, and a couple of things I hadn't had a chance to tell you, James, and I was waiting for us to record because I wanted to get your real reactions to it. So, as you guys know, I've been selling a lot on eBay. I've been buying a lot on eBay. And one of the things that I saw on eBay that I was like, all right, I need to buy this, is, the action replay for the Sega Saturn. It was the 4-in-1, which was the RAM card, the memory card. It also had the codes and the region-free stuff. But the reason why I bought it is because you can actually modify your Saturn using the action replay to play backup discs, like burnt CDs. And I was like, all right, well, if I get this going, I'm not going to collect for the Saturn anymore, because I'm going to have every game I want,
I do want to say, man, I don't know if they have progressed some things about it, but the thing is, everything I've always read and looking up as far as playing the backup disc is that there's something that kind of affects the mechanics of the Saturn, and it's one of those things that it's probably gonna break your Saturn at some point. It's just one of those things. Like I said, there might be something new out there, but I remember looking at it before. Always checking up older systems. We've said, anything up prior to the PS1, all those first ones you can play, burnt discs. 'Cause nobody could afford burners back then. Could barely afford the systems the games came on. So a lot you can, but yeah, I've kind of heard it's kind of like a risky thing as far as the Saturn one, but I know you'll do some research and check up, and it's one of those to see if maybe it's progressed some, to see if it's worth doing. Would be super cool, no doubt.
Well, here's the funny story. So I ordered the action replay. Came super fast. They were like, oh, it's not going to be here until Friday. I ended up getting it on a Wednesday, and I was actually off that day, so I was excited. Now, to do this operation, and I say an operation because you actually had to open up your Saturn and tape up this little sensor, so when you open up the disc tray, it thinks it's still open, so you have to swap out the disc. You only have to do it one time. Now, I know that's what wears out your Saturn, is swapping disc, but you only do it that one time just to get the action replay to become modified, like soft modded, and then after that, you're good to go. So I had to open up my Saturn, open it up, and this is the Sega Saturn I got from our friend Devin, the former drummer in my band and stuff. He gave it to me, the Saturn, for Christmas back in 2012. So I opened up the Saturn, and there was a cracker inside of it. A Ritz,
like what kind of cracker?
Like a Ritz cracker.
A Ritz?
Yeah, just chilling there. And the thing is, I don't know how it got in there. I mean, I know this Saturn has like a back piece where you put in the new battery. And I was like, well, maybe someone shoved it in that little hole, that crevice. But no, it was on the opposite side. And there's no telling how old this cracker was, but it was complete. The thing is, it was like mummified. It was like completely
preserved.
Yeah. I was like, and I text Devin. I'm like, I sent him a picture. I'm like, sir, can you explain this? Why is there a cracker in this Sega Saturn? But he was like, oh, I don't remember. But the thing is like, sadly, I did everything, and the action replay was actually defective. It wasn't working. I actually had to send it back, and I found out that this is kind of a common thing with a lot of the third-party action replay cards, and also the Saturn. Now, I'm going to get another action replay, and they said that if you use this action replay and it doesn't work, then it's probably actually the cartridge slot in the Saturn, because those do wear out. That's the reason why when you see people that put in action replays, they never take them out of their Saturn. They just leave them in there, because the pins are really finicky. But also those action replays, especially the 4-in-1, has a huge a defect rate. So, I mean, so bad there's been people that had it for like a year, and it stopped working.
Yeah, I think you probably got a bad one, because you got to think, for the back slot to be faulty, it would probably have to have been used a lot, and it probably didn't have, I don't know, but I don't think Devin had a action replay, or shoved a lot of things in the slot, aside from crackers, I guess. But
so I mean,
but it's probably just a bad one,
Yeah, the shot was super cool. I told them, I emailed them, I'm like, yeah, this sucks, and they were like, all right, we'll just send it back, and I sent it back, and I'm still waiting on my refund. I'm probably gonna get it like tomorrow, like Monday, as we're recording this. But
I had an issue myself. I've been reading G.I. Joe comics lately. The old Marvel ones. I've just been buying the like trade paperbacks or whatever of them. They each have about 10 issues. And I ordered one, and I got it. I was reading it. I'm really enjoying it. It's a lot like the cartoon. I'd never read any of these before. Maybe one or two as a kid. Start off, got a lot of the same characters. A bit more violent. Snake Eyes they have to go rescue somebody who did some traitorous things, and Snake Eyes just wanted to kill the person. It's like, can't we just kill her? And everybody's like, no, Hawk's like, we can't do that, Snake Eyes. But anyway, I'm reading it, and I get closer to the end, and I'm like, I got like a comic left, and there's not a lot of pages. Realize it's missing about 20-something pages.
Oh, shit.
So I contacted the place. I was kind of mad, because I was into it, man. I was like, what's going to happen? So I got up with them. They refunded me right away. They're like, we're very sorry. We pride ourselves on, all our books being complete, without missing pages, and refunded me right away. And, they're like, please, shop with us again. And I was like, I definitely would, for being as cool. And I was like, do I need to send this book back? And they were like, no, that's not necessary. So I'm actually going to give that one to my brother so he can check them out, and I'm going to order me, another complete one. But it was very cool. I mean, they just kind of went on honesty. I guess I could have just been lying, and then got the refund. But that's just lame to do crap like that. Best to just be honest, and things worked out. But I'm already reading the second one. I ordered part 2 and 3, and they're just getting better. More characters pop up. Destro's just, being a turd, trying to take over Cobra Commander, like, just really good stuff. But yeah, it's always good when companies, make up for things like that, and it's, never an issue. So
yeah, that is
good stuff.
That's freaking awesome. And I did want to talk about some gaming news. Not a whole lot's been going on. One big bombshell that we can get into before that could be the last segment for our break and talk about that. But I want to talk about Sega Forever. Have you been hearing about this, James?
I remember hearing about it initially. I think through Sean Long, RGT85. I always catch a lot of new stuff from him. He's always real on point with having stuff right when it hits, sometimes sooner than, other people. I remember hearing about it. I didn't really have a whole lot of high hopes for it. I was like, I hope, I don't know if it's going to be as great as like what we all would like it to be. Mm-hmm. And then I know it came out and it looked like, it was same games that are always out. I mean, I know they had a Crazy Taxi, and it is just an initial start, but I haven't tried it myself. I still think it's cool. I just hope it turns into something like really cool.
That's what I'm hoping too, because I downloaded all the games. And granted, I mean, I have an Android. It's really easy for me just to emulate any Sega Genesis game I want to play or Sega Master System. But I want to try it out just to see what the emulation would be like from actual Sega. And I have to say, I mean, it played really well. I was using my 8-bit do little controller. The touch controller, like touch screen buttons, weren't too bad either. Like I was playing Sonic using that before I went into work, and I was like, oh, this isn't too bad. But I did notice one thing, and my friend Tag, Power Metal Gamer, he was agreeing with me too, that Crazy Taxi looked amazing. Looks so good, but the problem is like I was playing it and the back of my phone was getting really, really hot. Like really hot. And I have a phone case. I have one of those little OtterBox phone cases on my phone, and I could feel the heat through like the casing. And I went ahead and I quickly closed out of it because I'm like, dude, I don't want to I don't want my phone to explode in my hands playing Crazy Taxi. So,
that'd be crazy.
All right. You just got third-degree burns. But no.
Crazy pain.
So, I was like, all right, I'm not going to do this anymore. And I think it's a cool idea. I mean, I'm hoping that the rumors of them trying to expand it to other ways and platforms would be awesome. Like, they've talked about either, putting it online so you can play it on your computer, also putting it on major gaming platforms like PS4, Xbox One, and even Nintendo Switch. And the fact that they're wanting to make all the games for Sega Forever, not just Sega Genesis, but they're, of course, doing Dreamcast and pretty soon like Sega Saturn. If they do it right, with it being a subscription service, I probably wouldn't mind trying it out to play like Sega Saturn and Dreamcast games like in full HD, but I don't know.
It's a lot. That's what people want. People definitely wanting that from Nintendo for a while. Thinking in the long run, it would definitely be more money for them. And maybe it seems like they're maybe kind of moving in that direction a bit. But Sega doing it, they're always trying to step up and get their stuff out there. And I wonder too, like you were saying, they can do it on the other platforms. I was wondering if maybe it would even be beneficial or better if they could put out. It's probably not like feasible, but I was thinking if they could put out their own little thing, kind of like a Roku or something. Maybe make it look like a little, new Sega system, and kind of have that where it would run through it. But it's probably a lot of unnecessary production cost if they can do it, on the other systems and everything, and get it going through the phone. Well, even on a tablet or something like that, would be probably much better. And to me, a game like Crazy Taxi, I thought that was cool that was on there because I don't do the most phone games, so I don't really know how, what level they're at. But I mean, Crazy Taxi seems like did it play pretty much like the Dreamcast one? Or?
Yeah, it played great and it looked fantastic. I was like actually telling some of my friends like John and Jason, Justin, all them. I was telling them like, dude, play Crazy Taxi on your phone. That's what Dreamcast looks like when you use VGA cables. Like it looked that good. I mean, it looked so sharp, and you can definitely tell the game's aged, but it's very smooth. So it looks very basic compared to today's standards, but it just looked really nice. So, I mean, I would love, to have like Nights in the Dreams on Sega Forever, and because the thing is too is like they make cables that you could hook your phone up to your TV. So, I mean, I would get like games on my phone and just hook that cable up and use my 8-bit do controller and play Sega Saturn games on my television. I'd love to do that, but only time will tell. But it's funny because Sega actually did something that Nintendo don't, and that is put out a virtual console, because we still haven't seen anything from Switch yet.
No, yeah, that's still not on there at all, is it?
I mean, the eShop, the only thing they have on the eShop right now is Neo Geo games, which is really interesting. It's really interesting, but and And quite a bit of Neo Geo games too, and they're pretty decently priced. You can give them like $7 a pop. I'm like, all right, that's not too bad. But
yeah, I've bought quite a few on PSN lately. A lot were on sale. I bought like Mark of the Wolves.
Oh yeah,
got one of the Samurai Showdowns, and then they also had this one. It had an odd name, and I was just like, "What is this?" And I looked at it, and it's got something like AGK or the initials, and it's 3 games. It's like one of the something like the Twinkle Sprites. There's a beat 'em up, and there's a fighting game, something maybe with ninja in the title, maybe. But it's
you just described like 90% of the Neo Geo. But I know
it's one of those games.
I know what collection you're talking about because I've seen it, and I was almost tempted to getting it a couple of times. I was like, man, it's kind of cool, but yeah,
they were all like half off during one of the sales. I don't know if they still are. It's like I picked up a few, and I still have so many on my Xbox and a bunch of collections. But sometimes if it's just kind of cheap and it's there, and it's like it's just easier to play it on my PlayStation sometimes because I'm usually on that. So and I don't mind. It's always good to support the companies and stuff, especially for games like that you really like. And I always try to support older games, like we all do, coming out, because we still want to be able to play them in some type of fashion.
Yeah, definitely. And speaking of old games, that was actually a really good segue to our next topic. And like I said, this topic here is probably going to last us until the break, because it's going to be a doozy. The SNES Mini was announced today. Yeah, exactly. It was one of those things like they talked about rumors of it. Speaking of RGT,
rumored for a while.
Yeah, speaking of RGT85, I remember he made a couple videos talking about it. It was like rumored, mini SNES, and I kept thinking, I was like, man, this isn't going to happen. Sorry, it's not going to happen. I mean, the NES Mini was a success and profit-wise, but manufacturer and shipment-wise, it was a commercial failure. I was just like, I don't think it's going to happen. It's even more so when people start figuring out how to hack the NES Mini, and they start hacking it, and then it was quickly discontinued. I don't think that was really that big of a coincidence. I think Nintendo was like, oh crap, well, they unlocked our little plug and play. Time to stop making them. So the SNES is coming out. It comes with 2 controllers. It's going to be, instead of $60, it's going to be $80. And it's going to have, instead of 30 games, it's going to have 21 games. But I'll be honest, every game that's on the SNES Mini is just awesome. I mean, everything from Earthbound to Final Fantasy III to Super Metroid, Donkey Kong Country. I mean, so many great games. And this is going to be the official release of Star Fox 2. And I'm going to ask about your thoughts about this, James. I got a lot to say about it. I'm kind of like wishy-washy about it. So what are your thoughts about the SNES Mini?
Now, like you said, it's a stellar lineup. I just love plug and plays, and it's easy to jump on the Nintendo and criticize them, and they deserve it. As far as a lot of the backlash and stuff they caught from the original NES Mini, I never saw one in a store at all. People wanted it. Like we said, it was like a scalper's dream. It just didn't feel like the people that was geared for. And a lot of people were excited, much like the Super NES Mini. There's people, they just like it. Say, hey, I can just plug this in. It's got a bunch of games, good price. I just want this. And there's nothing wrong, with that. I love the plug and plays. But the people they're geared for are the people who, couldn't get them, or a lot of the ones who ended up paying super high prices for them just because maybe they really wanted it. They just didn't know better. They just, they wanted it, and they spent a high price, and can't really criticize people. It's their own money. They do what they want. I just want to see Super NES Mini at the end. I think it's awesome, but I just hope, and I've heard that they said they're going to have more of these available. I really hope they, put limits on what people can buy. I just want to see the people, and I have a lot of friends that, play games casually here and there that I've seen talking about it. Really excited, especially for the RPG games. And they have them on, emulation and stuff, but they just, want it on this nice, neat little package. I just want people to be able to get it. That's all. And other than that, like I said, it's wonderful. Like you said, less games, Yeah, there was some games on the NES Mini. It was kind of like, you're not going to play. But I mean, when you got 21 games that is as solid as that, definitely worth the price. Just a couple of those games alone, probably some of them just by themselves could run you that $80 price range. So it's cool. I love plug and plays. Great lineup. I just hope things are done a little bit better. So it's beneficial for the customer and Nintendo. Nintendo should be getting the money on it, not Scalper Joe,
Yeah, exactly. No, I agree with that. And, I can understand why people scalp it just because it's a market. People spend it. I mean, that's the way it is. I do hope Nintendo does make enough that it's not scalped as much. Because, I mean, the way I looked at it is like the SNES Mini coming out this holiday, like it comes out in September, but let's say it extends through the holiday. You got the SNES Mini, the Nintendo Switch, which is its freshman year of the holiday season, and you have a brand new Mario coming out as well in October. I'm like, you know what? If Nintendo plays their cards right, they're going to totally dominate the holiday season. Like, Xbox and Sony are just going to be completely left behind. Not saying I hate Sony or Xbox, but, just looking at the statistics, that's going to be a really big deal and be really, really awesome. So, I'd like to see that happen with Nintendo. I'd like Nintendo to be on top the holiday season for once. They haven't been on top of the holiday season for the last couple of years. It's been mostly PS4 and Xbox One. I'd like to see Nintendo take a little jump this year. But, I mean, my thing is like, you brought up a good point about the fact that what this plug and play is geared for, sadly, those people are not going to be the ones to get the SNES Mini. I mean, you have the collectors who have all the games, who gladly say they have all the games, but they pretty much just want it because it is a Nintendo collectible. You'll have them buying it, and then you'll have, the scalpers buy it. I mean, that's pretty much the two camps that are on this product. And the people that, just want an SNES that is simply plug and play some of their nostalgic games that they haven't played in the last 15 years. These people, they're so casual about it. They don't realize that, pre-orders are up on Amazon. They don't realize that, it's going to be released on this day because they're busy doing other stuff, like going to work and doing normal adult things, filling out their taxes. They're busy doing other stuff. They don't have time to, look on Twitter and keep refreshing, Newegg and see when it's coming up. So, I don't know. I'm hoping that it sells well, and I'm hoping that mostly that everyone gets one. And sadly, guys, if you don't get one, you can always get a Raspberry Pi. I mean,
and I just, like I said, Nintendo Christmas, to me, there's just something, growing up with that, there's just something kind of just extra magical about that. And it would be really cool to see them, and it's looking like they will have a leg up on everybody. And I don't know, have they mentioned anything about the Super NES Mini being a limited run? I know we're probably just expecting it due to how the first one went, and they're like, oh, it was never supposed to be a long run thing. But have they said anything particular about that yet?
I mean, there's been talks off and on that Nintendo said it wasn't going to have a big production run, but I haven't seen anything that's like straight up official. Like, the thing is like when the SNES Mini got announced earlier this week, it blew up the internet. Like, everyone was making videos, and of course when everyone made videos, then websites started making clickbait articles, and it's just, whenever anything new comes out, you get a lot of stuff that comes out, and there's some of it you can believe, and some of it you're just like, I gotta wait for my facts. And that was one of those essences. But yeah, I mean, SNES Mini, I think it's cool. I think it's awesome. I hope that the people that want it, that haven't played the SNES in 25 years, and they're like, oh my god, this is my childhood. I hope those people get it, most of all. Most importantly.
I mean, I think it's cool, too, to have, with Star Fox 2 on there. It's just a nice little bonus, something that probably, I know I surely wasn't expecting it. I was expecting a Super NES Mini could definitely happen, but to see, an unreleased game be released is definitely cool.
You brought up a good point. You brought up a good point with Star Fox 2, because I forgot to talk about this as well, because, there is the Star Fox 2 coming out for it, and it's the first official release of it. Now, there's a lot of debates with this, because right now you can play Star Fox 2. You can play it because the game was 96% done, and it got put on hold, and it got canceled because of the Nintendo 64 and the marketing and the whatnot. So the game was like 96% done. Then some fans went and patched things up and made it like 100% playable. Now, there's a lot of people that are saying that, because, of course, when Star Fox 2 was announced, everyone was wanting the SNES just for Star Fox 2. They're like, this is enough for me to get it right here. I want to get it. And then, of course, you had people being like, dude, you can already play Star Fox 2 right now. I'm playing it. Even I was one of those people like, I'm playing Star Fox 2. This is what it is. Save your time going in line, and battling scalpers and collectors, and just play it on your emulator. And then you had people that were like, well, that's the incomplete game. That's not the official. My question is, and maybe you can answer this, James, is like, if the game is 96% done, how much more got put into it to make it complete?
I mean, I wonder if they put anything into it, I mean,
yeah,
it's
exactly.
Like what was left out originally that, was it just something extra on the menu? Was it some credits? I wonder if there's anything actually like crucial to, who's to say what is complete? We all know. I don't know what was missing, and that's interesting to see too. Like, I just don't picture them like adding anything to it, but who knows? At the end, it's cool, and it's just in a ways, if you can get one, like I said, easier means for someone to try it out, and it's just, I just really like that. Just always kind of like little mythical games in the sense of just what happened to it, why it was so complete, and just to have them pop up, just always cool. Whether it's out there in an emulator or an official release, is just always still out in the open more for people to see and discover. So this is pretty cool.
Yeah, I'm thinking too. The Virtual Console is right around the corner, and who knows? Nintendo may be smart in the fact that when they put out the Virtual Console, of course it's going to have like Nintendo and Super Nintendo games. Go ahead and launch the Virtual Console with Star Fox 2. Just go ahead and do that. Be like, you know what? Nintendo Switch, you can get Star Fox 2 on that as well. Pay about $10. Boom, you can play it.
Yeah, I like the idea of that. And, with them hearing about the co-op that's going to be, supposedly going to be on some of the games on there when they start doing the, the little program that's, always been rumored for a bit about getting the certain games per month and, blah, blah, blah. But just hearing that online co-op to older games, it's just, man, it's
because that was one of the things they didn't put in Star Fox 2, that they said that was one thing they said that wasn't complete, that it was supposed to have 2-player co-op. Imagine if they do make it for the Switch and it's got online 2-player co-op Star Fox 2. Boom, console seller right there. Holy shit.
And it's another thing too. I know the, emulation, people have figured out the online with that, but once again, just things that are easier, like on the Switch, man, just, being able to play Contra. Well, of course, I don't know if you'll be able to play Contra, because apparently that one never gets released on anything, but, Super C, how about that one, or just any other game that had couch co-op, to be able to do that online, which definitely sounds like that's, what they're planning on. And who's to know how many games will be compatible and will do that. But that just kind of makes it, a lot of us have been buying some of these same games, over and over on each Nintendo system, and they've never had a good transfer over system. You just got to buy them, like, again and again. But it definitely makes it worth it to me a little bit more. That's a really awesome added function in there that seems like should have been around for years already, but it's finally happening, and it's super cool.
Indeed, indeed. Well, guys, we're going to take a little break, and when we come back, we're going to be talking about some games, of course, because this is what the podcast is all about. But I thought our topic for this episode would be kind of fun. Talk about some games that we've always wanted to play that never came to our region, and also maybe talk about some games that we got our friends into. And that's going to be playing really heavy into games I've been playing recently, and James, you know exactly what I'm talking about. So I think it would be a great topic. So sit back, relax, guys, and we'll be right back. And we are back, guys, and we're going to be talking about some games that we got our friends into, some games that we really wish that would have came to our side. And what made me think about this was, the SNES Mini. One of the things that I know a lot of my friends in the UK are really excited about with the NES or the SNES Mini is the fact that you could play games like Earthbound and Secret of Mana, games that never came out to the PAL region. Believe it or not, they never got Earthbound, and now they can play Earthbound. And I think that's a really cool concept with the SNES Mini, and something that really makes them want to go out and buy one. Plus, one thing I really think that's cool about the SNES Mini is they had the SNES for us. It looks like our version of the Super Nintendo, but the one in the PAL looks like their version of the Super Nintendo, and then Japan's got their Super Famicom Mini, and I think that's kind of cool. I think that's really cool. Me personally,
I guess do they have a different lineup on the Japan one?
I think so. I think there's some games that they're getting in the Japan version that we're not getting. If I'm not mistaken, they're getting like Mystical Ninja. And
Yeah.
I think they're, if I'm not mistaken, I think they're not getting Super Castlevania 4, which is a shame. I don't think they're getting that. I think instead they're getting Mystical Ninja.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, both Konami titles, but I guess the Mystical Ninja was always... I always thought it was okay. It's one I actually wouldn't mind sitting down and playing, like, you know, a bit more.
Mm-hmm.
I never really gave it a full chance, but I know that one's always been really popular over there. Shame to see Castlevania replaced, but
yeah,
probably could have picked something else to change out. But yeah, I want to say too, maybe there was like a couple differences, kind of like last time. Just always interesting to see, you know.
Indeed. And I want to ask you, James, what's a game that never came out to the West that you always wanted to play?
It sounds funny, but it was a He-Man game on, I think it was on PS2 that came out in, it might have been only Europe, and I've heard it's terrible, but it's still just like, I'm like, it's a He-Man game. You know, we had one on GBA, and I was like a huge fan. I mean, other than like the Atari ones, which, you know, they were what they were. I think they were actually okay. It was just kind of odd that we never got that. It never got, you know, like a good He-Man game, and then you hear about it, and apparently we still never did get a good one. It's kind of, I hear about it on kind of like there's that one, Golden Axe, I don't know, the Beast Rider is mentioned on that one, so like horrible. I don't know if it's on levels of awful like that, but I've heard nothing good, but still, it's just, it's He-Man. And honestly, if I had a region-free PS2, I would play He-Man. Fulfill my dream.
Well, yeah, I mean, even if games are bad, sometimes, I don't know about you, and you probably feel the same way. If I hear a game that's really bad and everyone's like, man, this game's horrible, I still want to play it because there's a chance that everyone may think that this game's horrible, but I might find enjoyment in it. There's tons of games that I really like that some people are just like, oh, that's a horrible game.
It's definitely, it's sometimes just reading it, like you said, it's some kind of like, you know, sick pleasure in just playing something that everybody lauds as being completely terrible. Like Ride to Hell, really bad GTA ripoff. Just, you know, like 70s biker gangs, you know, it's like GTA and Sons of Anarchy, and it is bad, but, you know, I liked it. It's cheap. It came out, I think, brand new at like $20, so that usually tells you something many times. And it did not lie, but I enjoyed it. I played it actually up to a point where I kept getting killed, and I was like, okay, you know, if you really like a game, you can fight through some tough parts, but it's not really a game I really like, so it's just like, yeah, it's not worth the headache. Maybe I can find a cheat code and go back through it, but, you know, it's one, I say, man, if you see that, it's probably like $5 or less. It might get some sick laughter out of it, you know?
Maybe like good for like a Let's Play or something, because, I mean, I like watching Let's Plays sometimes of people just playing games that are just really bad and just seeing their initial reaction, be like, oh my god, why is the game doing this, you know? I like watching stuff like that. I mean, if I can think of like, I mean, I got a couple of games I would love to have seen come to the West. I mean, speaking of Earthbound, you know, we never got Mother 3. They do have a fan translation, and it's really good, but I would love to see an official release from Nintendo of Mother 3. Also, Secret of Mana 2, which sucked because we even got previews in GamePro magazine of Secret of Mana 2. Like, they were showing it off. You're like, oh, this is going to be coming soon, and everyone was all excited. But for some reason, it never came over here, and that was pretty unsettling. Also, and I reviewed this on my channel, on one of the episodes of Games You Should Check Out. I was talking about Gunner's Heaven, or called Rapid Reload. It was released in the UK, but was never released in the States. And it was pretty much a spiritual successor to Gunstar Heroes by Treasure. And it was released on the PlayStation 1. Really, really fun stuff. And thankfully now we can, I believe it's a PSN download now, and PlayStation's region free, so you can play it that way. But I played it through emulation, and I was playing it, and I was like, man, this would have been a great game for us to get over here in the West. This would have been definitely a game I would have rented at Blockbuster back in the day. I
was thinking real quick too, but just back to the Super NES Mini for a second. If they had gotten Secret of Mana 2,
oh man,
put a version of that on there would have been really cool. But another game for me, the one, it was just always kind of escaped me, and it was just so confusing as a kid, was the Goonies series. Mm-hmm. Played Goonies 2, and I remember in my head, I'd played this other game that was a little different. It was so confusing. Later on you realize it's the, from like the Play Choice 10 or one of the things like that, it had Goonies in there, but nowhere else. I'm always looking at the store, just Goonies 2. Like, well, this is weird. And I think there was some computer versions. I want to say even like at a display in some store one time had it. I remember a particular scene with like the counterfeit money. But I did finally get a copy, and Japan got the Goonies. I haven't really played it a whole bunch, so I don't know how similar it is. As much as I love the Goonies game, I really have a hard time going back and playing it now. It's definitely a lack of patience. It's huge, man. It is kind of like a early, like a Metroidvania in a sense. It really gives you kind of like a sense of that, going around tracking, getting certain items. Huge game for its time. So it's kind of bad that I finally did the Goonies, but I just don't really want to play it. But one day I might pop it in. Just odd, I just wouldn't picture. The Goonies was huge over here, and it's just weird. I mean, maybe it was huge in Japan too. I don't know.
Yeah, it kind of confused me too, because I thought that, because we would have games would come out that was like based off movies, but they would make their own sequels to the movie. But like I thought they made like Goonies 2, and it was supposed to be like a sequel to the Goonies, but the movie never came out.
Yeah.
I thought it was something like that. Also, you brought up a good point with Famicom only games. A game I would have loved to play that came out in Japan and never came out over here was the Labyrinth game with based off the Jim Henson classic.
Exactly.
I watched a Let's Play of that from Jew Wario years ago, and that was a really cool game.
They're actually, I think one of my issues at Retro Gamer, it was a little write-up, and they were talking about a couple of the Labyrinth games, and I think I don't know what other system one was on, but they said the Famicom was actually one of the, kind of like the worst version of it. That was more just kind of like a maze type game, if I remember how it was kind of described, where some of the other ones, it might have been on a European system. Obviously, being in Retro Gamer magazine, it probably was. But yeah, just to see that, these were huge movies, and just to never get those. And the Labyrinth, I only found out recently, probably a few years ago. I remember when our friend Jared had it, and I was like, wow, like they made Labyrinth on there? It's mind-blowing. And another fascinating thing to me, too, is actually how they change out characters, whether it's a crazy castle, like the Yo-Noid game, and they would just interchange these mascots. You'd have like Garfield and some Popeye. I'm a huge Popeye fan. Don't really care for the Popeye game, that we got. For its time, it was cool, but there's actually a couple of Super Nintendo ones. We did get a GBA one, but Popeye, for some reason, has got way more games in Japan, and those were a couple I was looking into, picking up, finding if they were like cheap or some other means to play them. One of them sounded really cool, kind of a little bit more like a beat 'em up almost. I was like, how cool would that be to walk around like Popeye, just socking people in? But you just never know, like what kind of characters like that pop up over there. Man, just I think even like the Bill and Ted game. There's some puzzle one on the Game Boy. I think it had different characters. Just odd, Yeah,
man, there's another game that I was thinking of when you were talking about talking about movies and stuff like that. What about the Super Back from the Future? The Back from the Future game on the Famicom that never came over here.
The good one.
Yeah, it was really good. And I mean, that is one good thing about emulation and reproduction carts is, I mean, now we live in a day and age that these games that we would read in magazines that unfortunately would never come out, like Secret of Mana 2, now we have a way of playing them, and it's awesome. It's great that we're able to go back and be like, man, you remember that game? Yeah, I can play it.
So I just thought too, once again going back to movies, because I was thinking of the Batman game on the TurboGrafx, which is, have you played that? It's pretty much like a maze game.
Yeah, it's really weird. It's it's like a top-down maze Batman game, and he's like collecting like little bat signals and shit.
I like it though. Like it's different. I mean, our Batman was definitely really good, but just it's an odd one. Good music, but Die Hard was another TurboGrafx one. We had a Nintendo version, which I haven't. It's not very good. I don't know, man. It's tough, but the one on TurboGrafx is great, man. It's kind of like Commando. I remember I was telling my brother about it. I was like, because it's kind of expensive, and he was thinking of getting it, and I'm like, man, it's great. And it's going on. I said, but let me go back and play it again, man, to just make sure I didn't get all. I don't know why that game just grabbed me, and I thought it was so awesome. But I need to give it another play. But just Die Hard, another big franchise. How come because we did have our share of them, but just not on the TurboGrafx, which just goes back to Japan getting so many more games on that system than we did. There's a ton, on that would have been cool to play. And now, like you said, now you can.
Yeah, and when you mention Japanese-only games, the first console that comes to my head is the Sega Saturn as well. Sega Saturn, it really didn't do too well in, the Western market because they were really trying to push towards, more of the 3D, polygon kind of thing. And in Japan, while 3D polygons are really popular, they still love their 2D fighters and 2D shooters and stuff like that. And they get a lot of great games on the Saturn that unfortunately we never got. There's a Sega Saturn version of Street Fighter 2 Alpha on the Saturn. In Japan, it's so much better. It's so much better. I would say that it's better than the PlayStation 1 version, but unfortunately we never got it. So, I mean, it's great that we're able to play that kind of stuff. Now, I want to get into the second topic, and that is games that we got our friends into. And what I thought about, of course, and it's going to be going into games I've been playing recently, but I want to talk about some other games too before we get into that. But I remember getting my friends into JRPGs like Final Fantasy VII and stuff like that. And isn't it just something kind of weird that you get this feeling that when you play a game and you love it so much, you kind of almost get kind of jealous when you introduce your friends to it and realize they're going to be going through all these experiences that unfortunately you can't have anymore. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah. There are so many things to the first time playing a game. At the same time, too, though, I can still find, there's still a joy in seeing somebody else play something, one thing that you like, too. So it's they get to find it and kind of, see what you like so much about it and see them get to go through experiences or maybe be able to, help them with at certain parts. Mm-hmm. Just always cool, G's were ones I remember my friends. I guess a lot of us had all kind of grown up playing it, but we did have a group of us that all played Final Fantasy VII together. That just became the games always played it so much. I was just like, I don't think I ever want to play that game again. So I don't get really excited about Final Fantasy VII remakes. I'm just I'm done. I don't want to get materia.
You're like, Ares dies and then we just move on.
Yeah.
But yeah, the Final Fantasy games, I remember getting people into that. Ryan, our friend Ryan Cadaver from the Casket Creatures, there's a couple times that he's seen my Facebook post and he would just message me. And one of it was Dragon Quest. He had never played Dragon Quest and he was just messaging me. He's like, dude, where should I start? And I was like, dude, get Dragon Quest 8. It's a fantastic JRPG. It's, it keeps the flair of the Dragon Quest games. Like, it's not too different, but it's different enough that it's not too hard and grind fest, like the previous ones on the Nintendo. But he started playing Dragon Quest 8, and I'm like, hell yeah, dude. Hell yeah. Like, it's one of my favorite JRPG series of all time, and it's always great. Same thing with Castlevania, too. I've had people message me about that they have never played Castlevania. They're like, where should I start? And I'm like, well, that one's a little harder because, you got the classic Castlevanias, which to me are great games to pick up and play. But if you're talking to someone that likes games a little more in depth, then I would, recommend games like, of course, Symphony of the Night, but also the DS and GBA games are just, bar none, some of the best games ever made,
Yeah, that's one. I remember the cool thing about it was Symphony of the Night. Of course, it's so many of ours favorite. And I hadn't played Castlevania in a while. 4 had been the last one. And I remember going over to, like, a friend of a friend's house. And he was one of the first guys I remember had a PlayStation. It was one of the first times I played it. And I remember seeing Castlevania, and I'm just like, what's this? It's like, Castlevania, like Symphony of the Night. I'm like, man, this is awesome. I didn't, I just hadn't heard about it or anything. And by the time I got a PlayStation a little bit later, it was one of those $20, greatest hits. And, had to have sold a lot. Obviously, we all love it now. And you kind of wonder, like, was it as loved when it was initially out? And, yeah, I think it must have been, to be one of those. But it was just great to kind of rediscover that series. Because after the Super NES, it was just kind of had that little break, and then there it is. It comes back. It's the same, but yet it's so different. It's so much more involved. It's, I could say too, for me, like, it wasn't quite as hard. Castlevania games are always tough to me. Never. I beat part 2, which is kind of amazing now looking back. But 1 and 3. I just never beat, and now you have the ability to level up. So if you just can't get that pattern down right, you just need to beef up, and then you can make it through. So it was just a bit more accessible. I think that's one that for someone that's never played, it's still a great jump off point. It's that one for sure.
Yeah, it was funny you mentioned Castlevania Greatest Hits. I've only seen one copy of Castlevania Greatest Hits, and I saw it in the weirdest place, and it was in the book section. They had a little tower of media, and it was inside of a Winn-Dixie. I saw Castlevania Greatest Hits and in a Winn-Dixie, and oh my gosh, man, I miss Winn-Dixie so much. But yeah, it was like before they closed down, they started like branching off and started selling like video games in their store. And it was always like it was always weird games. It was always like just random greatest hits or budget titles, but they would have like a little glass display in the book section and be like, ooh, look, there's Castlevania Symphony of the Night Greatest Hits and Tompa.
Yeah, wow. Good games too.
Yeah. And I remember going to that Winn-Dixie a lot because it was right beside the Walmart at the time. And this was before Walmart was Super Walmart, so we'd go shopping for stuff in Walmart but go to Winn-Dixie for groceries. And in the middle, of course, was Smash Videos, which later became Movies, if you remember Movies, and rent video games like Battle to Shinden.
Wow, I don't think we had one of those around here. The Winn-Dixie though, still see great games and great ramen.
Yeah,
hot and spicy and French onion. Like I used to work at Winn-Dixie. Like I stocked. I think I was pretty horrible at that job. I don't know. I was like 19. It was like so many other things, partying, hanging out, and you got a shift where you got to work all night, and it's just like, ugh. I got the nickname Rabbit there. I don't know if it's because I was slow and the greatest story from Winn-Dixie, I might have mentioned it before, but one night I just serious lack of sleep, and I was stocking cereal on aisle 3, and then I woke up on aisle 12 with a case of Chef Boyardee ravioli and like a 6-pack of root beer in my arms. I don't remember picking this up. apparently sleptwalked and lifted up. You know, it was like a big case of Chef Boyardee ravioli, so it's like it wasn't like really light. Just like, what is going on, man? Yeah.
I thought you were going to say you were going to start stocking like ravioli in like the deodorant section or something.
Man.
That would have been hilarious. It's like, oh, there's Arm & Hammer and Degree and Old Spice, and oh, Chef Boyardee ravioli.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, where were we going with this?
Well, we could go into one of the games, of course, I recommended that you have been playing a lot lately is Yakuza. One of the games I always, talking about for years, and it's good to get people to play, and that's another one a lot of people say, well, what's a good starting point? And nowadays, it's so much easier because someone can start with 0. They can start coming out soon with Kiwami, but the most easier 1 and 2, are a little bit more pricey sometimes. Maybe people don't have a PS2 anymore, and I'd always recommended. Now you've played 3 now, and can you kind of see why that's one I don't really recommend to someone to play initially? Yes,
because I played 0 and I beat 0. And then I started playing the first Yakuza, but then I heard that Kiwami was coming out, so I quickly stopped. And I played like 3 hours of the first Yakuza. And then when I played Yakuza 3, I remember I made the post, because I went to Game Giant and I found a copy of Yakuza 3 and Yakuza 4. And I was like, all right, I'm buying these 2. And I was like, yeah, I want to start playing Yakuza 3. And I remember you and my friend Darren, who is like... You two are like my Yakuza friends, and I'm both like huge Sega fans as well. You're like in a little Sega group, in my opinion. And both of you were like, dude, just play 4. But then you were like, yeah, you can play 3 if you want. But I can see why that some people would say not to play 3, because... See,
I jumped on that a little bit more because I was thinking, since you had already played it, there's so much of the relationship between like you and Haruka in 1 and 2, and starting off with that whole orphanage deal. I knew with you already being involved in the characters in a sense that you'd be cool with it, but it's a tough one when someone's never played it and you're like, here, do this orphanage simulator for
yeah, like the first 3 chapters. Yeah, the first 3 chapters are rough with the orphanage because it turns into like glorified fetch quest. And if you had never played Yakuza and you see like, oh, Yakuza, I'm going to be like this Japanese gangster and be fighting everybody and doing all this stuff, and like the first like 2 hours you're like, oh, someone didn't turn in their homework, someone got in trouble with a teacher, I need to confront this person. I could see where that would be like, oh my god, what did I get myself into? This is supposed to be Yakuza, not like, daddy daycare.
Yeah.
But it was kind of cool in the sense that, yeah, you hit the nail on the head that I was already involved with some of the characters. So the orphanage was kind of cool because I kind of got to see a new perspective of Kiryu and kind of see this other side of him, see this really humbling, like, father-like figure to all these kids. And Yakuza 3 was really good. I really enjoyed it. I finished it a couple of days ago. And one thing I will say for people that are listening that want to get into the Yakuza series, what's great about about whatever one you get is you can watch previous cutscenes of the other ones. So you're not completely in the dark. So I went ahead and I watched the cutscenes for Yakuza 1 and 2 before I played 3. So I knew I was getting myself into. You're not going into it completely blind, which I think more games should do that, to be honest.
Yeah, they've been doing that ever since part 2. Each one. It's just really cool because sometimes you might have gone through a game kind of quick. Lots of times I end up with the series like playing 1 right up, into the next ones. I don't have too big of gaps. Usually I have bigger gaps. It just while I'm playing, I might stop sometimes for months in the middle of a game. I go back, no problem. It's still the only series I can really do that with. But it's just cool, But if you have had like a lapse, you can go back just like, what did happen, It's hard to remember everything, and they give you just almost like little, mini movies of everything so you can catch up. It is just a really cool feature. I guess it is, portrayed as such a game that's a bit more, story focused behind it that they thought it was good to put those on there, for people. Because, you can miss out a lot of stuff, It's like, well, what is the deal with this orphanage and stuff? Like, why? Who is this little girl, And she's a huge focus in the game. To me, it was kind of weird in Zero, the fact that she wasn't there, because it's like she's been there, and it's pretty much like your kid through the whole series, and you see her like grow up and turn into like a pop idol and stuff. It's just crazy, and it's like just not even there. And that's another thing too. Like I like 5. Eventually, when you play that, I think you'll definitely dig it. Like I said, it's got the driving. You got the Daytona music, the taxi cab missions. You're like, man, you start playing it, it's like, man, this is hard. Like, I can't drive worth a crap. And then you start picking up the missions, and they turn into, conversations, and you end up, racing against this gang, and the racing's super fun. You got the rhythm stuff with all the, like, pop idol sections with Haruka. It's like, really, each one just really adds a lot into it. Sometimes, things will change where there's new moves added or new sections. Even the stealth. Part 4 is when you'll run into this big dude. For some reason, the hugest dude is like the stealth guy. And he's one that actually does the hunting section in Part 5. I forgot about that. That's also actually, everything they do, they manage to actually just do good. There's so much in it, and there's always going to be a thing or two, like shogi or shoji. I don't know what the hell that is. I have not played it. I don't play it. I want nothing to do with it. You think I might have tried to learn, after like 10 years of playing it, but I'm just like, nope, looks too complicated. But I'm sure it's good. But everything, batting cages, bowling, just whatever you want to do, darts, pull, man, it gives you everything, and everything is done well. Nothing's like, this is like just kind of crappy. Like they threw it in. It's like they put time and effort into everything about it. And like I said, it's definitely got that River City Ransom feel. I'm sure you can see that. It's just man, it's the ultimate game. Everybody should play it. Yeah, and we're both recommending it. So
exactly. I got my friend Mikey. I got him playing Zero, and it's funny because it's funny with the Yakuza series. It's not so much of just a game as much as it is an experience too. So sometimes when you like talk to people about it, like sometimes you don't want to tell them too much, even though when you're like thinking in your head, you're like, oh, that's not really a spoiler, but just like you don't want to tell them just because you don't want to rob them of that experience of going through it, because they kind of know what they're getting themselves into. Like I remember I was talking about Zero to our friend Jason, because he was like, man, I'm thinking about getting Yakuza 0, and I'm like, dude, get that game. Just go ahead and buy it. Because, I mean, it's because once you start playing it and you realize, like, oh my gosh, this is exactly what they were talking about. It's such a fantastic game. And I was, like, telling him some of the missions, and he was like, dude, you're going to give me too many spoils. I'm like, dude, I'm not spoiling it for you. Because I told him about the mission in Yakuza 0 and the sub-story where you're, like, trying to have the stealth mission of stealing a porno mag out of the vending machine to get to the kid. I mean, that doesn't have anything to do with the story, and there's plenty of more stuff that I'm not mentioning that's going to be just as amazing as that right there. But I was like, dude, there's like a stealth mission. You steal a magazine out of a vending machine for a kid. And he's like, oh, don't tell me anymore. Don't tell me. I'm like, dude, just buy the game. It's that good.
Yeah, there's just in the side stories, the little side quests are just some of the best. That's where you can get some of the funniest, definitely the funniest parts. And one of the things with part 1, I find is sometimes people could have different experiences because a lot of the side quests you'd miss. And I've told you before, they were kind of like timed, certain places, certain times. So I'm sure I ended up missing like a ton of them. Whereas in Kiwami, they're all going to be listed with the question marks. And of course, sometimes you have to do one to trigger another, but they're going to be way more accessible to find. And currently on 0, I was telling you, I'm kind of doing the little slot car racing.
Yeah, see, and, I never did that.
Yeah, see, you got to get the... that's part of what you got to do. So I guess you didn't buy all the property or anything, did you?
Yeah, I didn't.
Yeah, see, that's the only thing you get from doing all that, whether it's the Majima stuff with the clubs or all the real estate. You get a bonus fighting style, which I'd really like to get for Kiryu, but man, this slot car racing is killing me. It's hitting the point where I'm like, this isn't fun. Like, this is kind of making me mad, and I usually don't get mad at it. So like, next time I play, I'm just gonna go ahead and skip on to the next Majima part, because I haven't even done hardly anything with his clubs, and I definitely want to go ahead and finish up, definitely before August. So I might have to skip out on the slot car racing, but it's so much chance. You just got to buy the parts, and it's chance. And I thought I was controlling it for a while, and I wasn't, and I felt dumb. And,
Yeah, that's the thing. I beat 3, and knowing that I have 4, I'm like, I remember I mentioned to you last night, and you told me just to go ahead and go at it, because I was like, because you can get series fatigue. You can get to a point where you play a series so much you get kind of turned off. Not really turned off, but just get fatigued, like tired of it. And I was like, man, I wanted to beat Yakuza 3, and I wanted to beat it before I played Kiwami that comes out in August, because I already paid that off. But now, like, after playing 3, it's like, man, I want to play 4 now. And then I watched the intro to 4, and I saw some of the characters in there that I recognized from 0, and I'm like, oh, dude, I kind of want to play this. Because we see the dude that helped out with Majima. I don't want to give away too much, but I saw him in the intro, and I'm like, oh my god, he's in this? He's in this one? Why is he in this one? Oh, man.
Yeah, I just didn't. I wasn't even thinking too about when I said go ahead and jump into that one. It's the case where, I don't know, with Kiwami coming out so soon, it could be, you might do want to hold off, but, that way, because then you'd have to, cram through and try to beat that one, because you might not want to be going through 2 at the same time, and then if you beat 4 and go right into Kiwami, you might have could be too much,
Then I'll be wanting to play 5, and because eventually I want to play them all, because I have them all now except for 5. I went ahead and I got a really good copy of Yakuza 2 on eBay, so it's like one of those things I eventually want to play them all, but yeah, such a great series, man. My God. So let's get into the games we've been playing recently, because this is going to be kind of short and sweet, because I just talked about the games I've been playing recently. Other than ARMS, I played ARMS on the Switch, which is really fun. I need to play more of it. It's to me, I did a review of it. To me, it's like a futuristic Power Stone meets Punch Out. Really, really fun on the Switch. But what have you been playing, James?
Well, still, of course, always playing Yakuza. I did pop Mafia 3 back in, which is one I haven't played in a while. I got it when I first got my PS4, and just never, it has a tendency of getting very repetitive, so I thought maybe I just felt like playing a game like that, and I did have a good time. I got to go fight some other gang at an abandoned amusement park, which was really cool. They had electricity there and stuff was running, which seemed kind of odd, but it's a game. Other than that, like I said, I was watching some New Japan Pro Wrestling last night. It was their first bigger U.S. show. They've come over here before a couple times, and they've had some working relations with some of the other promotions, but it was one with a lot of their top talent, a lot of the belts on the line, having a tournament for the first ever U.S. champion. And it's a great mix of U.S. guys. A lot of them are in Ring of Honor, too. Cody Rhodes had a big championship match last night. Won Gold Dust's brother and son of Dusty Rhodes. But just an awesome event, It's kind of easy to get so much in WWE where, the writing is horrible. They got some of the best talent, and it's just kind of crappy. And just to go in and see something in New Japan just seems just so much more pure. It's treated like a sport, and it's just it's awesome. Jumping up and down in front of my TV like a kid. Might have been because some of the vodka too was jumping up and down, but regardless, I was having a good time. And New Japan is coming off really big. They're in Tekken as far as there's lots of clothing. King even has one of the guys' finishing moves, the Rainmaker, which is a really sick lariat. And there's going to be a gang. I've mentioned this before in Yakuza 6. There's going to be a gang of about 6 New Japan wrestlers. They also have a Tiger Mask anime coming out in the fall.
Oh, nice.
That Toei's putting out. And, Tiger Mask was a Japanese wrestler who was taken from a comic book. Same with, like, Jushin Thunder Liger. He was another one. Kind of looks like Ultraman or something, And they had a lot of these characters that just went on and, became, big names. And they're doing this anime in full participation with New Japan. So wrestlers are going to show up in that, too. They just had, like, a mobile game come out not too long ago, which actually looks good. We can't really get it on our phones, but, there's ways to get it. And I'd just like to see them have a PS4 game come out. They had one on 360, and, going back to the earlier topic of games from overseas, for me it's a lot of wrestling games. I've managed to play a lot of them, too. It's always awesome. PS3 was kind of disappointing because it's region-free, and there just wasn't many games, in Japan, and I was like, I'd really like to play that. So 360 had the wrestling game, and while the 360 can be region-free, it's like per game, and this game in particular was not region-free. And,
bummer.
There's a bunch on PS2, but I'm hoping with all this stuff, Tekken, being on, I was going to say only on PlayStation, but it's not only on PlayStation. So anyway, Yakuza is only on PlayStation, and maybe they got to have a new game come out, I think. So that would just be really cool to see that at some point. So, and it's just been a lot of wrestling and Yakuza. It's pretty awesome.
It'd be cool. It'd be cool if they came out with a new wrestling game for the PS4, and it had the Yakuza tie-ins where you could play as Kiryu and Majima, and they even had like an arena background stage.
I'm telling you, dude, I think if like we get another Virtua Fighter or something, there's so much crossover, in games like Tekken have guys from other games. There's more and more crossovers, especially with being a Sega property. I could definitely see, whether it's Kiryu or Majima or any of them, pop up in Virtua Fighter, or any other kind of fighting game. That would just be, really cool to see them, pop up here and there.
Awesome.
And we are getting, speaking of wrestling games too, real quick, we are getting another Fire Pro wrestling game.
Yeah, that's right.
I had a little teaser a while back, very, very just short, kind of, I don't know, it didn't really look like anything like, but it was like, Fire Pro, and now there's just more info coming out on it, and I think it's coming out maybe by the end of the year, I don't know, it could be early 2018, which is not that far away now at this point. So anytime, there's a different wrestling game, I still like the WWE 2K series, but anytime you get something else pop up just for a little different, or just have different guys on there, it's always cool. So keeping the fingers crossed for a wrestling game on the PS4. So
the more the better. And I do like WWE stuff. I haven't played any wrestling games in a long time, but I would like to, play something other than something that's just WWE, just to have like a different perspective. And, I would love to have like, maybe a game come out that has that new style, but the same playability of like the N64 games, but like with a better engine and stuff. Because, that would be a lot of fun. I'd really enjoy that.
Yeah, it's always a lot out there. They're always cool. The old Japanese 64 ones, Dreamcast had great ones. I still love that. I still would like to get a region-free PS2, mainly just to pick up a bunch of these wrestling games,
Yeah.
And He-Man, of course.
I'm hoping, that we get some more of, Fire Pro Wrestling and New Japan and stuff, because, that's something that, when you were talking about last night, I was like, man, I need to watch more New Japan, and I still need to watch Lucha Underground. I still need to watch that.
Yeah, Lucha Underground's awesome, and for anybody that wants to watch New Japan, they have a thing like WWE Network called New Japan World. They've tried to make it a little bit more English friendly, and I've heard a lot of people signed up and don't have any problems. But if you just want to check it out, there's always YouTube. They put up a lot of free matches, and if you have Access TV, it's AXS TV. It's on certain cable providers. I signed up for a trial of Sling TV, mainly just to watch this tournament the other night. But they show a lot of New Japan on there. They have Jim Ross doing commentary. which is just really cool to hear him on there. So, we get the English version as far as the commentary. And there's a lot of English guys there. There's subtitles on the guys talking. And it's a great product. I think it comes on Friday night. But, they're always, this weekend they were showing a lot of back episodes. So I recorded them, before the big event. So it's good to see them. And I guess they're going to be try to do a couple more U.S. shows, really trying to make themselves more of a presence. And it's great stuff, like if you just love wrestling, it's definitely worth checking out.
Indeed. Well, I think this will conclude another episode of Xsgaming Podcast. I can definitely say before we close the episode, play Yakuza, damn it. Play it.
Yeah, damn it.
Shit. That should be like the title of the episode, Play Yakuza. But anyway, guys, as always, thanks for listening. And if you guys enjoy this podcast and you're listening to us on Podomatic, be sure to leave us a review on iTunes or on Podomatic. You can follow us there. And if you're watching us on YouTube, or if not, there is YouTube, youtube.com/Xander Skullion. That's where we have some of the past episodes on. Also, my series, Games You Should Check Out, where I talk about games that you guys should be playing. And we have viewers like you recommend a game in about a minute called 1 Minute Crunch. And I do have some other videos coming out very soon. I have some unboxings. I got a first impressions on the Castlevania animated series that comes out this Friday. Can you believe it's already?
Really?
Yeah, this Friday. It comes out this Friday. I cannot believe it. Yeah, this Friday. It's coming out on Netflix. So if you guys don't have Netflix, just sign up for the month free trial and just cancel it.
You can watch Lucha Underground on there.
Oh shit!
You can watch Castlevania. I've been watching the new Glow series about the gorgeous ladies of wrestling. There's a show that they don't use the old characters, but they're kind of inspired by it. But it's really great. A lot of wrestlers make cameos, and I grew up watching Glow. I would watch anything that was wrestling, and it was always kind of entertaining. The show, it's actually like most Netflix shows, it's pretty top notch. Just doesn't everybody have Netflix? I don't know why. You should just get it.
You're like, I don't know why you don't have Netflix.
Yeah, but why don't you have Netflix?
But yeah, guys, I'll be coming out with that, and of course, the next unboxing video I have is going to be in August when they come out with the Sonic Mania. I'll be doing an unboxing of that because I'm getting a special edition with the huge Sonic statue and all that stuff. But yeah, check that out, youtube.com/Xander Skullion. And again, guys, leave us a review, rate us on iTunes. It helps the show, helps get new listeners because it pushes our episode and our show up. I think we're like number 50 out of all the gaming podcasts on Podomatic.com, which is pretty awesome considering there's like 3,000 or more freaking things, and we're like number 50. And just last week we had I think like 280 listens on Podomatic alone. So I do want to thank you guys for all the listens and all the support, and we're going on the 5 years strong and no signs of slowing down. So thank you guys so much. And as always, happy gaming.
Have a pleasant evening, everybody.